Thank you very much. Let's move on to our final topic for today. For the umpteenth time, the ambitious student loan scheme of the federal government is undergoing tinkering. This time, President Bola Tinubu has transmitted a letter to the House of Representatives seeking the repeal and reenactment of the Student Loan Act 2023. President Tinubu explained that the request for repeal of the Act and a fresh enactment is to address some challenges of the earlier law. The letter said it is also aimed at enhancing implementation of the student loan scheme by the administration. Before we discuss this, let's share with you the story on the deliberations by members of the National Assembly on the new bill. We'll be right back.
Few days after President Tinubu temporarily suspended the student loan scheme, Mr. President sent a letter to the National Assembly seeking to establish a legal framework for the loan intervention scheme.
And he has asked us to repeal the earlier enactment and reenact another one that will be in line with his vision. This is to strengthen implementation. And this is also to ensure sustainability of this program. Without
any delay, the lawmakers swiftly considered the bill due to its sensitive nature. In their various contributions, the lawmakers admit that the bill is timely as it will offer opportunity to every Nigerian youth to get education as well as ensure adequate provision of welfare for the students during their course of study.
Objectives of the bill are to, 1, provide loans to qualified Nigerians to pay tuition, fees, charges, and upkeep during their course of study in approved tertiary education institutions and vocational and skills acquisition institutions in Nigeria.
He wants it to get tailored in a fashion that it will very well allow the execution of his idea or of his thinking about the way to really help in giving access or in giving that opportunity to indigent students who really want to be educated but don't have the wherewithal to be educated.
In other parts of the world, while we have this student loan scheme, there are rules and procedures that must be followed to the latter.
The bill scaled second reading and has been referred to the Senate's Committee on Tertiary Institutions for further legislative actions. Tijesu Adeoye News, Abuja.
Mission of student loans, access to higher education.
Since its enactment in the twilight of the 9th Assembly, criticisms over its practicability have not stopped. To address the noticeable gaps, President Bola Tinubu transmits an entirely new bill to the Parliament seeking a repeal of the old order and prompt consideration and approval for the new.
The Student Loan Access to Higher Education Bill 2024 seeks to enhance the implementation of the higher education student loan scheme by addressing challenges related to the management structure of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund.
The bill receives accelerated hearing as members passed it for second reading.
I think this bill is welcome. It has come at the right time when Nigerians need a pat on the back for their patience, for their understanding, for their tolerance of the difficulties that we are facing.
This bill also will see that youth who are seemingly on the streets looking for ways of funding for their education will be removed from the streets.
To address the challenges in the nation's healthcare system, the House adopted a motion calling on the federal government to develop a policy framework that will provide for public-private partnerships in healthcare financing. Joke Edson, TVC News, Abuja.
Our correspondents there, Tijesu and Joke Adisa. Gentlemen, this is an update from where we left this conversation last Sunday. BQ.
Yes, it is. And for me, as much as I want to see this laudable initiative kicking, I am also conscious of the need to implement it properly. I was reading some stories where some students claim that they actually appealed to the president. They identified some gaps in the earlier bill, and came up with ideas that will help government implement it in a seamless manner and in a manner that is sustainable, because there's no point starting a noble cause and then stopping halfway. That's not what we want to see. We want this students' loan thing to be there for so many years and even outlive the president who came up with the idea, the president, the chief of staff, and others who came up with the idea. So whatever needs to be done to improve on the framework for delivering this initiative has to be done. It will take a while, but those gaps have to be removed. We must remove gaps that can be exploited in a manner that will compromise the sustainability of the scheme. It's important to do that. Nigerians always find a way to abuse privileges of this sort. How do we deal with such scenarios? I know now that defaulters, those who willfully default, there is provision to have them arrested and prosecuted in this bill. So steps are being taken to ensure that by the time the president is ready to launch it, because word came out that it was going to be launched on Thursday last week, but some last-minute changes had to be done, and the president had to quickly send that bill to the House of Reps, and he pleaded for accelerated hearing so that we won't waste time in launching it, but let's get it right from the beginning. I hear people say it's an audio loan. We will remind them when eventually it kicks in whether it's still audio. There are people who will be happy to see this thing fail. Mm-hmm. But I know, for example, that if we didn't have free education, a lot of people from the Southwest, or even outside of the Southwest, would not have had the privilege of education.
That's correct.
A lot of Nigerian leaders would not have had the privilege of education. Free education helped them to get education. And I said here last week that that this is your status. You do not have a job yet, you know. So it's a good thing. You pay between 15 to 20% of your salary. They'll be deducting it from your salary. But if you have the capacity to have everything deducted, because for a 4-year course, it's 500,000 per year. You know, for a 4-year course, it's about 2 million naira. How many students have access to 2 million naira? Many people have lost the opportunity to go to school because they do not have money. And if we want to address the out-of-school syndrome, we have to find a way to subsidize education, make education accessible and affordable for the generality of our people.
All right, Adeoye. One major factor this new bill seeks to address, according to this report, is challenges related to the management structure.
Yes, I think the effectiveness of the bill will depend on the management structure, the internal working mechanism, to ensure that the mission is achieved. Because the whole idea is that we know there are people that are very brilliant, but not necessarily from rich homes. The secondary school I attended, in fact, the brilliant students, leading students, are from very poor homes, extremely poor homes, but exceptionally good. And these students will not have been able to gain admission, go higher, if they don't have access to funds. Today, the purchasing power of Nigerians has diminished. Education is more or less now for those who have good jobs, who have access to stable income. If you don't have that, you are just, no matter how brilliant you are, your capacity, your asset will waste away. So we need to ensure that this is not hijacked by vested interest. And the international loans, student loans, in some countries it's also given to international students, like the US, for instance. That means a poor Nigerian student can access loans in the US. Once you have a resident who has spent 2 years, who has green card, and then you have a guarantor who's based in the US. So if the US, UK, and other can do that for international students, how much more our own country doing that for our own people? So I think it is necessary. That is one thing we need to first agree, and that's why I don't subscribe to this idea of people trying to dismiss the whole enterprise. I think it's one of the good things that have come out of this regime. If you look at the figures, every year about 1.8 students apply for JAMB, but only about 600 end up getting to schools, because majority of these other people don't have the resources. They gain admission to read law, to read medicine, but there's no money. So they end up riding Okada. I've seen many of them like that are just doing many jobs to survive. But when you engage them, that these are very brilliant students. We have about 27,000 secondary schools in Nigeria. And when you look at the figure of students in secondary schools, over 13 million. But number of students in universities, about less than 2 million people. So that means that a lot of people are, don't have access to higher education. And even when you are talking about students in universities, about 500,000 are in Open University. That is not the regular, university where you stay at home and all that. So Nigerians are very brilliant people, and we should not deny them. We should not rob them the excitement of realizing their potential, because they are going to be useful at the end of the day to this country. So that's what this loan is meant for, and it should not be taken over by people who are rich, people who have the means. So there must be thorough, surgical, investigation to ensure that this loan gets to people that are genuinely in need, and that the loan will be useful to them and to not be given to people just for political considerations. All right, so while
one of the senators was talking, I found this very interesting. In this new bill, a loanee can be exempted from repayments in the event of death, considerations of hardship and impossibility or undue difficulty to repay the loan. I find that very interesting.
Yes, the person who is dead has lost the capacity to repay.
That's true.
So that's the end of story. And people who, because the stipulation is that after 2 years after your youth service, so it is assumed that after 2 years, one will have found a job. But you and I know that it doesn't always work like that. Some people can stay for 15 years without a job. Some will be forced to take even many jobs, the sort of jobs that will make it difficult for them to be able to repay this loan. So there has to be some flexibility. They have to look at those stipulations and see what and what can be retained. Because for me, it has to be implemented the right way. Otherwise, this whole hoopla about a student loan will evaporate. People will see gaps, and it will look like the government didn't think it through properly before coming up with the idea. So that's why, for me, I'm not in a hurry, as long as they do it and do it very well. And they need to take their time before giving us, before kicking off the project, because you have to do it right. The academic community is a very critical one. even as we speak, ASU opposed the idea of the student loan, but the president is trudging on with it, but ASU opposed it from the beginning. So if they leave gaps, then it will be unfortunate. I know those scenarios that you painted are quite possible. Let's face it. There are some jobs that you do that you find it difficult to pay, if not impossible to pay. The other day, Lagos State government claimed it was looking for cleaners. Some graduates applied. Dangote was looking for drivers. Some graduates applied. So people now, after going through school, are forced to take the kind of jobs that ordinarily
would not have
diminishes them, the kind of jobs that diminish them. They are forced to take it, maybe because some of the people they live with are not patient with them and all that. They are forced to go out and take just any job. Some people get married, the pressure of their spouse will push them to go and accept just any job. And now, having accepted just any job, the remuneration is not enough. How do you then pay back? So they have to consider all of those scenarios before rolling out this this bill for the final time.
Adwale.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's better to be meticulous than to rush and make mistake. So if they are going to, the bill has been represented, I think it's better. What is important for us is to have, a bill that will be popular, that make sense to, that will be able to achieve its own mission. So I'm not in a hurry, I think we should be patient enough to see through this great bill.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching as well. BKO, thank you so much for always, and Adewale Adoye, thank you so much for your contribution today.
Thank you for having us.
Right, and thank you very much for watching. Join us tomorrow for the regular episodes of the program. You can watch the repeats broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.